Today in managerial accounting, we're going to look at costing terminology. Now we know about expenses from taking financial accounting. They typically show up on the income statement and they're the cost of producing the revenue. Expenses can be broken down into two different types: product expenses, or as we're going to call them in managerial accounting, product costs, and period costs. Now, for the sake of understanding the terminology associated with these, you can consider that product costs typically occur in the factory, and the period costs typically occur within the office. Period costs are recorded as a cost in the period incurred. Product costs are assigned to inventory accounts that eventually become cost of goods sold. Period costs are typically called selling and administrative expenses, and they would include items like salaries, commissions, delivery fees, and office equipment. Product costs are the manufacturing costs of a product. This includes things like raw materials, direct labor, factory supervisor salaries, and factory utilities. Let's take more of a look at the product costs. The total manufacturing cost is made up of direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead. Direct materials are materials that are used to make a product that can be directly traced to a product. Within the factory overhead, we also have indirect materials. These are materials that are used in the making of a product that typically have a minimal cost and cannot be easily or directly traced to a product. Direct labor is the cost of the workers who make the product. They use the direct materials to make the product, and it's also called touch labor. In factory overhead, we also have indirect labor. This is the cost of the workers who do not touch the direct materials to make the product. It would include something like factory supervisors, for example. In factory overhead, we also have other manufacturing costs. Now let's consider a product, a handbag, for example. And we can look at the costing terminology related to making handbags. Direct materials would be things like leather and the lining for the handbag. The direct labor could be the cutting department and the sewing department, the employees that work within those departments and touch the direct materials to make the product. Items that might be found in factory overhead could include something like the thread because it's not easily identifiable and traceable to the product. It could also include supervisor salaries, the power and the light to keep the factory going, the depreciation of the equipment, and maintenance of the building or equipment.